Okay, now it's live.
So we are live.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Welcome, fellow councillors, staff. Just like to acknowledge our meeting this evening on the traditional unceded territories of the Subats First Nation and thank them for sharing that treasure with us. First of all, welcome virtually. I hope everyone is doing well in 2021. This will be the first finance and admin meeting for this calendar year and being held virtually in accordance with the Ministerial Order M192. Introduction of late items, if there is any. Mr. Fernandez? You're muted, sir. Seeing has he?
No late items.
Excellent. But just a reminder, if we are not speaking, if we could mute our microphones, and that'll cut down on the background noise. So looking for approval of the agenda, please. Moved by Councillor Vomaka, seconded by Councillor Austin. All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries. Business arising and ongoing business. Item A, there is no report on the municipal hall upgrade.
Just a quick question, if I may.
Absolutely.
Could we assume then everything's on schedule?
Muted again, Mr. Fernandez, sorry. Could you unmute, sir, and start again?
The superintendent and I met with the architects a couple of weeks ago, and our understanding was that we would be getting new drawings, and we haven't seen them yet. So based on what Mayor Bob had indicated, we assume that things are on time.
Okay. Anyone else? Sounds good. Moving on to B, the nuisance bylaw, Mr. Fernandez.
The nuisance bylaw, this is something that I'm working on. So hopefully I'd have it for you at the next finance meeting.
Okay, and as you recall, we had brought this forward under the unsightly properties premise to add a nuisance portion to that bylaw to recoup some costs on problematic properties that we attend, either bylaw, fire, or building inspection. We cannot recuperate policing costs as we do not pay our full share of policing costs. Being a town of under 5,000 people, we don't pay for the full portion of our policing. I believe that would be a synopsis of where we're going on that.
That's correct.
Anyone else on the nuisance portion? Mayor Day. We'll get you to start again and unmute, please.
Well, I got it on mute? No, I don't.
Sorry about that. Because I don't think I was here when it was initiated, but I know other municipalities initiated and have passed these bylaws. Just wondering if there's been any feedback from other areas regarding the efficiency of this bylaw in dealing with the nuisance properties, besides just recouping costs. Has it been effective in getting
I can't,
compliance?
If I may, I can't answer that. It's something that I will have to research and get back to you on.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
have
thank you.
seen some anecdotal reports of compliance through the nuisance portion of other communities through my investigation of this moving up to this point. It's not to say that all nuisance properties comply, but when there is a portion that can be put onto taxation, it has more of an impact for compliance than just strictly to move on a unsightly portion. I have heard that some uh, proposed drug houses have been shut down or moved on because of the nuisance portion within some of these municipalities' bylaws. A lot of them do reside within their policing, so they can recoup far bigger amounts than we could. But even so, with the nuisance portion, gives the town another tool in the toolbox per se to address those ongoing concerns, whether they be from policing aspect or building inspection. It just gives you another avenue to try to deal with those properties.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nothing else on the nuisance portion? Moving on, we have no delegations or representations. There is correspondence from Mr. Stephen White, Vice President of the Lake Cowichan Kinsmen Club, on the duck pond upgrades. You like to wish to speak to that, Mr. Fernandez, or?
I don't. It's something that I can, I guess. I was going to say no, but but we've been dealing with this issue for some time, and now they're just asking for approval to go ahead, I guess. And they're looking for assistance on the process. And I think they have been talking to the superintendent on this issue also.
Okay, looking back to my colleagues, your pleasure on this, Councillor Sandu.
So they're also looking for us to kind of support in their grant application. So should that be a motion?
That would be appropriate, yes, indeed.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion that we well, maybe our CAO could.
That we give support to the application.
Okay.
So that the town of Lake Cowichan support the application by the Kinsmen Club of Lake Cowichan for the duck pond improvements. Moved by Councillor Sandu, seconded by Councillor Vomaca. With a question, Councillor Vomaca?
Yes, I do too. It said that there was a hard copy sent to us for that, and I don't have anything here. But what I was wondering is, I notice everything is for kids. Do they have anything with the 8 to 80 plan for seniors
Not that I'm aware of, no.
in that concept?
No.
And I'm wondering if we could have that conversation perhaps with them.
Okay.
Okay, another avenue was the proposal of perhaps implementing that within the Centennial upgrade. I'm not sure if you want to duplicate that within the duck pond portion. Mind you, you probably would have grandparents watching their grandkids down at the duck pond. They shouldn't be exercising while they're watching them swim, though. Anyways, just something to consider. Councillor Austin.
So I was gonna mention that as well. Centennial Park is a little out of the way for some of the seniors, and although we did talk about that, we also talked about having it over by the senior center, the equipment for seniors exercising. But maybe that would be a better place. It's more downtown. They can walk across the bridge. If there's something we can discuss with them, I would certainly think that would be a good idea.
I just think I don't want to blindside them with the concept that they've already moved forward with. They have a plan in place. They fundraised on this plan, and then for us to tell them we'll support it, but only if they put seniors equipment in. I don't think that's the intent, but if we can ask them if there is some possibility of consideration of that, I think that may be appropriate. I
Right.
certainly don't hold it as a covenant for moving forward with approval, though.
No,
Councillor Bomaka.
No, that was not my intent. It just said in the letter that they had provided a hard copy for our viewing, and I've never seen that copy. So I don't know whether they've put anything into that project for that age category.
I
No.
believe the hard copy was presented at an earlier meeting by a delegation.
Yes, we don't have a hard copy of it here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything further on the duck pond portion? I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Verbal comment from the public on a subsequent item. I'll let Mr. Fernandez check the email
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
on his secondary computer. So we'll just give him a couple of minutes to have a look. If you want to mute yourselves, and we'll listen to the Jeopardy music.
Should, mute it. There is nothing.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a reminder for anyone who is watching that if you wish to submit a question at the end, please do so by email. Would you like it to general, Joseph?
On me? Yeah, I'm in general, yes.
general@lakecowichan.ca.
See. Yeah.
So your questions could be broached there if you think of anything along the way. So moving on to reports next. Under A, Director of Finance, the financial report for the period ending December 31st, 2020. Ms. Gill, are you there?
Yeah, I'll let Ms. Gill take over.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. So the report is attached. The numbers for December are still preliminary. We're still receiving invoices and posting them back. If they're for last year, year end has not yet really started. So we've delayed the start of Lakeview Park Campground. The opening for that is tentatively March 1st. And that's because of COVID, and we're not sure what the operations are going to look like. The Education Center is currently in a loss position, as you can see on these statements. It was severely impacted because of COVID this year. So budget discussions are currently underway And later on, the administration capital budget is attached for discussion to this agenda. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Okay, great. Thank you very much on the report. On the statement of expenditures, et cetera, is there any questions that come to mind from councilors? Councilor Sandu?
Thank you. Just a question on revenue, under public work revenue, $12,243. Just being there was no budget attached to that, I was just wondering, is it what that is?
This is when there's been payments made for services that are required. One of them was a new storm service for somebody. There was also a water and sewer service that was paid for by a taxpayer. So there are just other revenues that happened to take place this year for work that was done, and the expenses are recorded in the public works budget expenses somewhere.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes for you, Councilor Sandu. Any further questions from other council members? Councilor Austin.
I just have a question. I realize, I don't know if everybody knows, but the money that's left over from budgeting for last year, like I'm looking at parks right now, there's quite a bit that wasn't used in parks because of COVID and that type of thing. That all goes into general revenue, is that correct?
No, there's a percentage that goes into the parks reserve for the parks.
Okay,
The rest does go into general revenue. That's correct.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything further? Mayor Day.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I know the question's been asked before by Councilor Vomaca, but there's $9,000 in the budget for street banners. And I just don't recall the answer. Do we have any on or fresh ones on order for this coming summer season? And will this money be expended on that? Or are we waiting to order after the next budget is approved?
I think the banners have been ordered. They probably will be coming into next year's budget, so that money will be well, that's this year. So the budget for 2020 wasn't spent, and that was just due to the change in staff and whatnot. So the banners do need replacing, and I do believe the Public Works Superintendent has them on order.
Perfect. Thank you.
Follow up, or are you okay for now?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilor Sandu, please.
Sorry, I forgot. Under expenditures for tote rentals, I know there's been some discussion on social media regarding residents possibly wanting to rent a bigger tote for their garbage. And I'm just wondering, can you rent a bigger tote for residential?
No, those tote rentals are actually recycling totes that some of the businesses have. We do not rent garbage totes. They were funded by a grant originally, and at this time, if somebody wants to upgrade from their 80-liter tote to a 120, they can do so. They would just return the old tote, pay the difference in the cost, and pay the monthly difference in the cost of garbage, and that can be done.
Okay.
So there is a possibility for larger receptacles for those that feel they require it. With a user fee and an extra charge for the larger can.
The user fee is a third more, as the garbage can is a third larger.
And it was all based on weighted volumes on
Correct.
80 liters, et cetera. So that was how the garbage revenues or expense was budgeted for, I believe. Okay, anything else? If you do perusing this later, if you do have a question, I'm sure Ms. Gill would be pleased to answer you virtually or in person, should you feel the need to attend that way. Okay, Director of Finance again on the administration capital budget for 2021. Ms. Gill.
So this is just the budget from budget discussions for 2020 for the general fund. For 2021, sorry, I keep getting my years mixed up here. So we have budgeted $10,000 for an asset appraisal for insurance purposes. Computer equipment for $5,000. $20,000 for a development cost charges review. $10,000 for hazmat inventory. Office equipment, assuming that the new office will be complete and done, of $100,000. The bell tower school, some renovations were done in 2020, and there's some of that budget that's been rebudgeted for of $30,000 for this year. Mildred Child, also when this office has been done, that is slated for demolition and area upgrades for $60,000, and the municipal hall renovations are there at $1.5 million.
Okay, just before I go to questions, the DCC review was delayed from last year.
Right.
It was taken off the budget to try to decrease the impact to taxpayers. That was one of the items that we did remove during our discussions. I see it back on there, and I think it's important to get that work done. I'm not sure how everyone else feels, but I think we're lagging behind in some DCC charges. I'm sure some developers may not agree, but that's fine for us to disagree. Anything else on that capital list that anyone wishes to speak to? Mayor Day.
Thank you very much. I just have a question on what exactly is entailed in a development cost charge review. I just don't know how the $20,000 budget gets attached to that item. Do we need a consultant or what? So I just like an explanation. Thank you.
And we do require a consultant, and maybe Joe, you want to, it is quite an involved process from what I hear, but I'll let Mr. Fernandez handle this question. 1 second.
Thank you.
Okay, if I may, the DCC's, any DCC review has to be approved by the province. And for that reason, communities that are like us will have to use consultants to get the job done. They'll have to do an overall appraisal of just what the capital infrastructure there is in water, sewer, roads, and then come up with a number that makes sense to charge future developers.
Perfect. Thank you. That makes a lot more sense to me now.
And piggybacking on that, does that take into consideration the asset management portion that we're obliged to go by now?
It's factored in, yes, indeed.
Great. Okay, anything else on the capital administrative capital budget? Sure.
Yeah, if I can, on the capital budget, we're going to include the capital budgets in each of the committee, so you will have a chance to review those. We are at the final stages of completing the budget process, and you may want to think about when council wants to be involved in the overall budget exercise.
And I think this will give us a chance to at least have a look at what's proposed capitally in each of our agendas, whether it be public works, parks, and then moving forward at a final budget discussion on what the impacts of that will be, and if there is a need or a desire for any trimming, so to speak. The one thing I had a question on hazmat inventory. For instance, the Mildred Child building for demolition, would the 60,000 include the hazmat appraisal for that building, or has that already been done?
Well, the hazmat has been done, but it's not complete. So that the 60,000 would include an additional hazmat study. And the 60,000 may not be enough. That's something that we need to determine. It's a conservative number that we've come up with.
So the initial hazmat is just a high level assessment, and it
Yeah,
will be a deeper one.
just to make sure that it's safe for employees to work in.
Excellent. Okay, anything else, Councillor Vomaka?
I was just going to ask, so the hazmat inventory there, that's for Mildred Childs, but what about the town?
No, that's not specifically from Mildred Child. The
Okay.
60,000 is for Mildred Child and the demolition of it. The 10,000 is for any other additional work we have to do in town. For example, the health unit, something in public works. So that's where the money comes from.
So refresh my memory, have we had a hazmat on the town office demolition
have.
for the bays? We have? Okay, thank you.
No, let me rephrase. But each time something's being done, we've had a hazmat study done on the overall office already. But if you're looking at replacing windows, for example, that will require hazmat. If you're taking out the walls, that will require hazmat, and we need to have specialists involved in getting that work done.
Thank you.
It's incremental as the project moves on.
Yes.
Excellent. So anything else on this one? And I don't think we're looking for approval tonight.
No,
per
you're
se.
not.
This is just to show you what has been discussed during management budget discussions.
And you will,
Go ahead.
He's frozen.
Oh, now he's frozen.
public works and
He's frozen.
Okay, you're cutting in and out, but that's okay. It's probably a bandwidth problem. I saw Mayor Day's hand up again.
Yeah, I just want to throw the comment in because Mr. Fernandez brought it up that when does council want to become involved in sort of the process near the end? So I guess we review all the capital budgets, and then we might want to consider maybe the first Tuesday in March or maybe April.
you may want to do it next month.
February.
March
February.
or February?
February.
February, yes.
Okay. You will be done in time to have a budget review meeting to see where
Yes.
it's at then, by then? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
And that's not to say that we can't have a special meeting, a special budget meeting on a separate day than a Tuesday.
Yeah.
If we are ready and wanting to move forward with approval or changes, I think it's important that we get it done as quick as possible, and then get it approved and move on. Okay, that's basically more for information than just giving you a heads up of what is coming forward. Nothing else on that from councilors? Okay, great. Building inspectors report for December 2020. That's basically just for information.
Yeah, you will notice that it's been a very quiet month. And it should soon be picking up because 18 lots just got subdivided and approved. So you'll see some additional work in that area.
And I think there will be more coming as we move forward with some subdivisions as well. Councillor Austin.
Just a question, is this where the bylaw officer report would reside to in this finance meeting? I don't see one here.
I have one that was handwritten. If you want it, I can fax it to council. It's a
Okay.
handwritten report that came
Of
in
course.
late on Friday, so I can add it to next week's meeting if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and if we can, moving forward, if we could have a possibility of piggybacking that report on the finance
Okay, yeah,
agenda, if possible,
we'll do that.
just so we know if there's follow-ups that have been taking place or what needs and desires within the community of our bylaw officer. I think that's important. Okay. So that's just for information. We're going to move on to D. This is the appointments to the Advisory Planning Commission. Mr. Fernandez.
Well, council did a secret ballot vote on this. And as you can see, the 5 people that the council selected are listed in my memo, and we would require a resolution approving those members to be members of the APC.
Okay, there is a recommendation on the bottom of the report. Are you moving that, Mayor Day? And Councilor Romack is seconding it. Any discussion on that? So I will read them out if you wish. Oh, Councilor Romack.
Oh, I was just going to say, is town council through our CAO going to send a letter to congratulate each of them? and also a letter to the other two that were thanking them for putting their names forward, I think would be appropriate. It's up
Yes,
to
we'll do that.
the council.
Yes.
Mayor Day. Went on mute again, please. Sorry.
Thank you. And these names do not become official till after the regular council meeting. Is that correct?
Correct. But
Okay.
in the meantime, if I may, we'll have to advise the candidates that they will be required to attend the next APC meeting, unless council is not willing to, unless something happens between now and the next council meeting, which I doubt would happen. But I think we're time pressed, so we need to get this, the APC meetings as scheduled happening.
So do you want me just to leave the names as is for now? Or shall I announce so the people watching know who they are?
I think it would be appropriate.
I think it is. It's been moved and seconded that Darlene Ector, Lynn Klein, Pat Lamont, Janice New, and Robert Patterson be the members of the Advisory Planning Commission for a full 2-year term beginning January 1st, 2021. You'll note on the calendar we're January 12th, so it's imperative that we get this done as soon as possible. Any further comments or questions on? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Congratulations to those who have been chosen. And I personally want to thank those from the past APC who are not moving forward for your contributions on making the town a better place. Thank you very much. You're up again, Mr. Fernandez, on backyard hens.
On the backyard hens, as I indicated in my memo, it's a subject that I had the contract planner work on. So he did a comparison, and basically I concur with his recommendations, which are highlighted in yellow. So if you're agreeable to those areas that have been highlighted and the section that I added at the bottom, 12, 13, 14, and 15, then we can prepare the appropriate bylaws for council consideration for the next meeting.
Councilor Omaka.
Hi, I'm just wondering if I'm under number 13B, when it asks for the permission of the registered owner of the property, can we have it put that it's written permission from that owner?
That would be.
Would that be okay?
That'd be reasonable, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Day.
In the thank you. In the sample bylaw that we read from, I believe it was Richmond or Surrey. Surrey. It had a stipulation there that coops could not be within 30 meters of a stream. They use all the right language and stuff in there. I noticed that's not in here. And I remember a time a few years back when there was a rather significant issue on a creek in town by somebody keeping hens, and it was definitely chicken feces detected in the water by a local biologist and a QEP. So I'm wondering if we should consider inserting that back into this bylaw, being as how there are so many small streams and creeks in a lot of neighborhoods that it might be pertinent to either get a QEP's recommendation. In Surrey, I believe it was 30 meters. I don't know if we need to adhere to 30 meters, but at least get an opinion on that and have some sort of reference in the bylaw. So is that something we can talk about?
30 meters from the creek?
Creek, river, stream.
Okay.
So just that placement shall adhere to all SPIA regulations, perhaps?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's better
Something
language for
similar?
sure.
Just a question, if I may. I'm looking at the minimum lot size of 450 square meters is in the proposal.
Mhm.
One of the things that was brought forward was approval within strata councils for placement. Would the lot size within stratas fit within the 450 square meters? Or would they not be allowed because of the lot size?
If they're smaller than 450, they would not be allowed, yes.
So in some stratas, for instance, there may be lot sizes of 450 square meters. So I think somewhere in there, we need to also incorporate that it adhere to strata regulations.
Okay.
Just so if there is 450 square meter, and I'm thinking of one particular strata complex.
But they have to be single family residences. You can't.
Not
do them
townhouses,
on-
not apartments, but, so I'm speaking to a couple of other larger stratas.
Okay,
So if we can just incorporate that in there as well.
will do.
Anything else? Okay, that'll come back when those suggestions have been broached. I think the planner would probably like to hear those suggestions too, whether they're incorporated into the bylaw. I'm not positive, but
No, I think he's left it in my hands.
in your capable hands.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Under F, Freedom of Information Request. Mr. Fernandez.
Yeah, this is just for information. I think it's something that people seem to be asking for more and more, and it's coming at some cost. I think it's sort of a fun issue to deal with. But I guess it goes with the territory. I just wanted council to know that it comes at some cost.
Councillor Sandu.
In these freedom of information requests, are there reasons behind them, like that make sense, that warrant that the residents are paying this money?
I did raise that question, and I did not get a satisfactory response. So I've been in contact with the FOI on this issue.
Follow up, Councillor Sandu.
Well, I'm not sure who it is, what it's about, but what I'm concerned about is the trend. And if there's good reasons behind requests, then I support this. But if it's not reasonable and it's personal or whatnot, then we have to say, how do the taxpayers continue to cover the costs of this? So that's where my confusion is, and I would like more clarity on what for protection of the town and our finances is, where do we draw the line in these requests?
Good point. I'll raise this with FOI and get some clarity on it.
Okay, I think I saw Councillor Romaka next.
Yeah. Question is the money that this is costing for the freedom of information, does that show in the legal fees? Like, where does this show in our expenses?
It shows under contracted services and administration.
Not under the legal ones, okay?
No, it's not legal, no.
And is this something that maybe we would need to, if this is going to be an ongoing trend, is this something that maybe needs to be looked at being budgeted for?
Well, it's
Just a
really up
thought.
to, yeah, just a thought. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's certainly up to us for discussion, whether we want to add some taxation towards FOI
Yeah.
future needs. Mayor Day?
Yeah. No, I'm muted. Good. So just a comment, because I know an experience in another local government that these frequency of freedom of information requests required them to hire a freedom of information officer and also a records management person to stay on top of everything, make sure the records were easy to find and access. And in our case, this is not necessary, and the costs that we're incurring, as Mr. Fernandez said, the FOI people say that these requests are allowable, but there will also become a point, it has also been through my experience too in the other level of local government, was that at some point it does become a nuisance, and I think that's the answer that Mr. Fernandez may find out as he talks to the FOI people, and then other actions can possibly be put in place to call this a nuisance and ask the persons to stop. But at this point, all the requests are allowable, so these costs we need to pay.
And I think I concur that FOI regulations are obligated by the town to investigate and to accommodate when and if they are appropriate is not for us to unarbitrarily decide. That is for the Freedom of Information Office to divulge that information to us. I think we move forward on a case-by-case scenario with advice from FOI. One of the things that I think may be appropriate in the future would be to look at how we can accommodate a digitized filing system, whether it be cloud-based or whatever, moving forward once the town hall renovations may be implemented, and how that might mitigate some of the investigative needs of contracted services. One of the problems was moving from one email server to another, so it does not reside physically within the town office anymore under the current email structure that we're using. So that was problematic in the initial one, and it may be in this next investigation a problem as well. So just to remember that we are bound by regulation to move forward with those. Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah, I think we should be looking at some changes. If there is no good reason for an FOI request, then the full cost should be borne by the person requesting it, rather than the town.
And I think that's something for FOI to perhaps look at in the regulatory end of it. For the town to bear full costs, I don't think is appropriate, but currently that is what is suggested by the FOI officer that you've been working with. I think we saw that there was a invoice that was submitted at first, and unfortunately that was deemed to be excessive by the FOI officer. Anything further, Councillor Austin?
Well, I'm just going to say, when I'm reading this FOI, it's regarding emails that were sent to the person that is asking for this information. I just find it odd that they wouldn't already have those emails themselves. So I'm wondering why that is anyway. And I do think it's starting to become excessive.
Mr. Fernandez.
And one other thing, the issue of digitizing information, that's already being done. But emails are a different issue, because we can't access, I can't access council members' emails, just not possible. So that's why we need somebody else to deal with that. IT guys are the only people who can actually physically go into the server and retrieve those records. I can't.
Oh, for sure. And I'm thinking more along the lines of future FOI requests, whether it be meeting minutes or other stuff that may be asked for. And those are digitized currently, but I think we can always do more. That's all.
Okay.
Anything else on this? Okay. Let me get back to my agenda. New business, I believe, A, biannual meetings with area director F and I. I think that was Mayor Day put that on there, or was this a follow-up from a previous meeting?
Yeah, I think we had it on the last meeting, and it is a follow-up again, or maybe it was just a discussion we had. Would it be appropriate, Councillor McGonigal or Mr. Chair, for you to reach out to those two individuals as you have a current relationship, and just at least have that conversation, see if they are interested?
Yes, I have had initial probes with these two directors. We're embroiled in in heavy budget discussions as we speak. Another one's starting again tomorrow, but I will reach out to both area F and I directors, and perhaps following the budget process, we can get together virtually and try to set up some sort of schedule on a biannual check-in. And it's more just of a check-in, et cetera, and whether we're moving forward collaboratively on any projects or that sort of thing. So I most certainly will do that once the dollars have stopped flowing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I understand.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Special corporate services tomorrow, starting at 9:30. Should be a very entertaining meeting for anyone who wants to watch. Won't be that long. But moving forward in the preliminary budget portion of the CBRD presentations, I think there's still some confusion on the taxation portion within regional districts and municipalities. As you know, the town of Lake Cowichan contributes to 22 functions that we are either regional or sub-regional in nature. And when you look at the CBRD proposed 2021 budget impacts for the town of Lake Cowichan on those, the major increases are from solid waste and transit. All the other sub-regional ones, for instance, Cowichan Lake Recreation isn't a significant increase. The two major increases are transit and solid waste. So if we can incorporate reduction in solid waste exports to Rabanco by diverting more organics to the local composting facilities, you would see a cost savings in our tipping fees, for instance. It's cyclical on not only taxation, but potential savings. I look forward moving forward on the budget discussions and the impacts. The proposal was to go 0% increases without a business case. And there are some that you cannot keep at 0% when you rely on other entities for your waste removal, for instance, and you don't have hands-on for pricing increases, et cetera. You have to absorb those within your budget. Otherwise, try to find somewhere else to remove it. So it's a convoluted process. And unfortunately, in a regional district, you can't move money from one function to another, as we can move money around in the municipality if we find ourselves short in one area or another. So a different animal, that's for sure. Sorry, I've taken up too much time there, but it is an interesting process. So I'm going to look at notices of motion. Is there any of those from my fellow councillors? I almost demoted you and called you directors. Public relations items, there's got to be some of those. Who wants to start? No one? Wow.
Dull times during COVID.
I guess so. And now we will look at question period. If we want to take just 3 minutes, take a little bit of a stretch, and we'll come back at 6:55 and see if there's any questions.
Oh, it's gone. They're gone for a break. Okay.
Okay, 6:55. Everyone's getting back online here. I'll look to Mr. Fernandez and see if there's any questions submitted.
There is nothing, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Fellow councilors, thank you very much for your input tonight. Great discussion. Looking for adjournment. Moved by Councilor Romaka, seconded by Mayor Day. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. We are adjourned, and we'll move into sustainable planning at your pleasure, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor McGonigal. Just let me get all set. Okay, is everybody here? Looks like it. Thank you. Now, I haven't got everybody on my iPhone screen, so you may have to speak up from time to time if I don't see a hand in the air and stuff. So just remember that. So before I call this meeting to order, I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the unceded territory of the Subasset First Nation, and we thank them for allowing us to be here. So I'd like to call the inaugural Strategic Planning Committee meeting to order on Tuesday, January 12th at 6:57, pretty darn close to 7 o'clock. Are there any late items to add to this agenda, councillors? Okay, I don't see any hands. So a motion to approve this agenda as presented, please. Moved by Councillor Austin, second by Councillor Womaka. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. There is no business arising, no delegations, no correspondence. Verbal comments from the public. I guess Mr. Fernandez will ask you to check your computer one more time.
Okay,
Seems like you were just there.
I was just there. I gotta go back to the thing, but too quick. Did I mute you guys?
While we're waiting, I just think it's important to urge the public to please watch our agendas and send in your comments or questions in for the appropriate sections of our meeting. As Councillor McGonigal said in the previous meeting, to general@lakecowichan.ca. So that process is allowable at every one of our virtual meetings.
Just bear with me, I'm just checking it now. There was nothing. There's nothing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fernandez. So that means we can move to reports, and there are none, as this is our first meeting. We can move to number 8, new business. A is vision statement. Would somebody like to get us started on that one? Councillor McGonigal, you did have some opening comments on that at previous meetings, so perhaps you could make some suggestions on how to move forward on that item.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Day. I don't think we need a 300-page document for the Town of Lake Cowichan strategic plan. We have a vision statement on the entrance to town. I don't know if that is appropriate for our strategic plan as well. It was appropriate for the APC to bring that forward as a vision statement for the Town of Lake Cowichan. I think that would most certainly be a starting point. And then if you wish or would suggest encompassing further verbiage in that, that would be appropriate. But concise, terse, right to the point, I think is what you're looking for in a vision statement. And then moving forward is where the meat and potatoes, so to speak, comes from the plans within the strategy that you move forward. So that would be my suggestion. I'm not sure how everyone else feels. That way there's continuity in the welcoming when you come into town, and then in the document moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor McGonigal. Councillor Austin.
What we had before was that the beginning of that. Our vision is to create a vibrant, healthy, sustainable community that exists in harmony with the natural environment, enjoys a balanced economy, supports all generations, and provides the opportunities to satisfy diverse social needs. That's quite concise, and we did use that before. I think that's a fairly good vision statement.
Agreed. So if we were going to title a document in the future, and could the title of the document possibly read valued environment? And I haven't got the town sign in front of me here. And then the statement below that would be a good way to do that. The three phrases at the beginning would definitely make it short and sweet, and then throw that sentence underneath as you suggested, Councillor Austin. How does everybody feel about that? I see some heads nodding. Yeah, okay, good. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel here. So, so staff, are you able to record that as the vision statement for this endeavor?
I think we've lost
We've lost our
our
staff.
CAO.
I can't find them on the screen.
No, they're not there.
What happened? Oh, well.
Okay, well, we can follow up with them on that.
Yeah.
Okay, item
You can
B.
watch the video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably is. Hopefully the right video. So that means we'll move on to item B now, and we can engage staff on that afterwards. Community engagement. Just wanted to put that out there to everybody, because I know during the election campaigns, there was conversations about touching base with the community on tourism and other issues, or just plain having public meetings. And now that we're Zooming on a frequent basis and things like that, wondering what everybody's thoughts were on calling together the public just for a general public meeting, or certain stakeholders on the topic of tourism, or other issues in the community. So just wanted to throw that out there and see what the feeling was. And I guess simply, are we ready for a Zoom public meeting? Start there.
I think we're still neophytes in this process. And as such, until we gauge a little more expertise, I think it's important that we grasp this part of it before moving forward to a public engagement, for instance. I think engagement virtually doesn't give you a sense of the true desires of the community. When you're talking from a laptop, you don't see the body language or the passion in the eyes, etc., that you would face to face. I think it's important to know within the community what their strategic plan is as the tax base, and what they can endure within that strategic plan. We all have visions personally as elected officials on how we would like to see our community move forward. And we have to ensure that that aligns with the majority of the people that pay the taxes. So moving forward, I think an initial part would be for us to incorporate what we think strategically moving forward would make the town a better place to live, work, and serve. And then take that out to a virtual, if we're still virtual, or in person if we can do that, on a democracy sort of thing that we've tried in the past. Do you agree with this? Do you have other suggestions? And we've learned a lot from that process in the past. The more ideas and suggestions come forward.